Good evening, friends and family, and thank you for coming to another night with Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities Behind Black Business. And we have another wonderful, two guests with us tonight from the Harriet Tubman Initiative, LLC business. And that's Madeline Sanders and Preston Gresham.
Yes.
Am I saying your name correctly?
Yes, that's correct. Like the community.
All right. So, all right. Okay. So they're going to be talking to us about our criminal justice system. Madeline has been working very hard in terms of dealing with clemency issues and wrongful incarcerations. That's what the Harriet Tubman Initiative, LLC, is about. And Preston is working with her. And Preston also has some very insightful information because Preston has dealt with this firsthand. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So very special guests, very busy people. And again, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Yes, absolutely. As you know, we are a nonprofit foundation, and we came about to work with some of the wrongs that are going on in our community as far as businesses circulating dollars in our communities, because we know that businesses, especially small businesses, are the backbone of this country and building generational wealth. And in the Black communities, there have been so many blockages, sabotage against all of that. And so we've been working to enhance the awareness and support of our Black businesses. And that's what Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities is all about. We always support our Black bookstores because of the knowledge that they have in many of our stores. And we do have a number of Black-owned bookstores here in Chicago. They are listed on our website, and we ask that you support these institutions. Our history and our background knowledge is very important. And so that's why we support our bookstores. We have a book giveaway, and we feature a bookstore every month. And so for this month, it is Frontline Bookstore. You can contact Frontline Bookstore at frontlinebookstore.com. They have an online presence right now, and they chose a book for this month for one of our subscribers. And all you have to do is go to rrgbc.org and subscribe, and you could become a winner of this book. And the name of the book is The Groundings with My Brothers by Walter Rodney. And he was a Guyanese intellectual activist. He led movements in North America, South America, Africa, and the Caribbean. And he supported the working class and taught them how to think politics on the international scale. He also had firsthand accounts of mass movement, organizing, and he inspired a generation of revolutionaries. So if you want to win a copy of this book, please go to rrgbc.org. We pay for the book, and we pay for the shipping as well. We really want you to go online and contact the bookstore and Brother Say Cool and purchase and get the book directly, and we will pay for the shipping to you. So please go to our website and subscribe. Now, last 2 months, Afriware was our bookstore of the month. We had 2 winners who did not respond. So we have 2 more winners, and that's Mama Edie Armstrong, who has won a copy of Stolen Legacy by George M. James. And they talk about who the Greeks, in terms of who the Greeks really were. and they really were the people from Northern Africa. So that's a very interesting read. And then our other book, Ketanji Brown, the first Black woman on the Supreme Court. Gloria Goss, you are the winner of this book. So I will be giving you a call and telling you how you can acquire a copy of this book. We also support the Southside Community Federal Credit Union, who is located at 55th and Wentworth in the mall. They have been around for 21 years. The Southside Community Federal Credit Union is also having their 21st anniversary this Saturday that they will be celebrating. And they have been giving loans and financial literacy classes to people in the community, and they have a number of products to offer. In order for a bank to thrive, they need you to open up an account. So please go to the Southside Community Federal Credit Union and open up an account. Okay. And finally, two more things. We are working to help our bookstores get contracts with our Chicago Public Schools. So we ask that you go to support Black bookstores at change.org and sign our petition. And lastly, our Black Biz Directory is in the works. If you actually go to the website, you'll see probably some businesses are up there now, but this has been a big feat for us, but we're there. So our directory should be completed soon. All right. So those are some things that we are working on right now, and we ask your support. Please go to our website at rrgbc.org where you can donate and help us with all of the work that we're trying to do right now. Okay. All right. So let's get to our guests tonight. Madeline and Preston, who, as we stated earlier, are here representing the Harriet Tubman Initiative, LLC. And either one of you can give us an explanation of what the Harriet Tubman LLC initiative is about.
Well, and I appreciate, and we appreciate being on your program, Denise. The work that you're doing is phenomenal, and we're happy, in fact, delighted to be a part of the experience. Our business, Harriet Tubman Initiative, I was asked, how did that name come to be? I called up a colleague of mine when I had thought about putting a business together, enabling us to help individuals who are incarcerated to get their sentences commuted. And I called up a colleague of mine, Maxwell Little is his name. And I told him about the kind of business that we were going to create. And I said, what do you think the name should be? And right away, without hesitation, he said, Harriet Tubman Initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who knows about the history of Harriet Tubman Initiative, she freed a huge number of individuals who were enslaved. And she went into plantations, and she was able to get a number of people off those plantations and get them through the South, through all kinds of treacherous locations, and get them to the North. It was a phenomenal undertaking. And she said, in fact, had it not been for those Blacks who were fearful of leaving their slave masters, she could have gotten even more individuals from the southern plantations to the north. So we
Absolutely.
feel so delighted that we got that name. And we know that the work that we're doing actually ties into the legacy that uh, was able to obtain because of the work that she did. And I say that in part, Denise, because I happened to several months ago, I looked at the 13th Amendment,
Mm-hmm.
read that 13th Amendment again, and it does say in essence that when you get a felony, you can be subjected to involuntary servitude, and that felony stays with you forever. Because in this country, as we well know, there's so many impediments that are put in front of someone who gets in the prison system. It's a very difficult and very challenging situation. But anyway, our firm is endeavoring to enable people to get out of the prisons and to be able to get back into free society and get on with their lives. And that's a major part of the work we're doing. We secondarily have gotten involved somewhat at this point on a smaller, much smaller scale with individuals who are wrongfully incarcerated. We did find out that with this, for example, with the state population, prison population in Illinois, it's about 40,000 or somewhere in that range. I saw a statistic from 2018. And I was advised by an individual who I consider very knowledgeable about the system because he was once part of that system, that the Black male population is about easily a third of that 40,000 or two-thirds of that,
Two-thirds.
that population that's in prisons.
Now that's
And
for the Black men.
we're
Yes.
talking about Black men,
Black men.
race, Black men,
What
two-thirds.
about Black women?
Same. Yeah.
It's about the same.
Yeah.
We say it's
Okay.
about the same. There's been a lot of effort in this country as far as policies, public policies, social engineering, and in just numerous practices to get our people into the prison system. And of course, that has resulted in the destabilization of our families, the children of imprisoned individuals a lot of times have mental and emotional issues. Some come out okay. Some manage to rise above the trauma that's associated with that. But so many do not. And we can say very specifically, even that the criminal system, the commission of crimes by so many children that's happening in Chicago, for example, is the result of fathers not being present in the homes or in the environment of their children. So it's a very serious problem. And what we're doing is very, very serious work. So anyway, I want to, I'm just going to leave it there because, I mean, that topic right there is a book. So I'm going to
Absolutely.
let Preston, I want him to speak next.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Denise, for having us on your show. Uh, I wanted to just segue with what Malin said about the origins of how many Black men and women are in the prison system. One of the things we do with our organization, we believe in the redemption and the rehabilitation. Because someone is incarcerated, that does not mean that these people don't have skills, they don't have plans and they don't have future. A lot of people are under the impression that once you get locked up, that's it, your life's over. You just sit there and exist. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's not true. I myself was incarcerated. I did 6 years. And so I had a chance to meet quite a few individuals in there who were poets, artists, uh, authors. just various talents and skills that they had. Some had made mistakes, because it was so impulsive. Their crime was just at the spur of the moment. They weren't thinking, or either a lot of them were under the influence of mind altering substances when they committed their crimes. So it
Mm-hmm.
was so sudden and spontaneous that they committed the crime. Well, what happened once they got somewhere and the smoke cleared, they realized, wow, how did I end up here? And what am I going to do about it? Now,
Mm-hmm.
these are the guys and women who come to the light and they come to themselves and they say, look, I need to make a change. My previous lifestyle was errant. I messed up. Now I'm here away from my family, which is actually more of a punishment than the time that they give you. Because not only is an incarcerated individual locked up and experiencing the punishment, but their families are also experiencing that with them. So it has a ripple effect. And I just wanted to say that, a lot of the times men and women are in there due to prosecutorial oversight. They'll overcharge people and then get you to accept a plea deal. So quite a few of the people in there may even be innocent of what they're accused of, but they didn't have a chance to really prove it due to lack of resources, as in getting a good attorney or whatever. So they had to just sign a deal rather than to take it in front of a jury and to get the ultimate, maximum penalty. So a lot of them just accepted going there to get it over with. And I ran into quite a few individuals like that. Uh, I just wanted to add one of the things that really exacerbated this whole phenomenon was the truth in sentencing law that was brought about. It used to be a time where they had indiscriminate sentencing. You would get 25 to 30, 35 to 50, somewhere in that range. And whenever the parole board felt you were worthy to get out between that time, you would. Well, now it's just a determinate sentence where they'll give you a flat 50 or a flat 40 or whatever. And depending on what type of felony it is, you may or may not be able to receive any sentence reduction on that. Murders are class M. There's 100%. A lot of the crimes now that are gun crimes that are committed, if you're a habitual offender, you have to serve at least 85% of your sentence. You know, very few now are coming up under the 50% law where you only serve half. Uh, a lot of back in the past, they took away a lot of the Pell Grants for individuals who were in there, so they had opportunities previously to earn college degrees, take more
Mm-hmm.
vocational classes. They stripped those down. Well, they've recently reinstated those Pell Grants. So hopefully, a lot of the guys and the women can take advantage of those, because what we do when we formulate or put together a clemency petition, we go into these people's information and find out what have they been doing while they're in there in the prison. What type of skills have they developed? What things have they been working on to make them become better people? How are they prepared to rejoin society without the scrutiny that's going to follow them? So just handing it back over to Malin, that's pretty much just part of what we're about.
And
Well,
something else.
let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
We often hear uh, that our prison system does not really help to rehabilitate people.
Yeah.
People go in and they get exposed uh, often to more crime than what they actually committed when they
Yeah.
go in there.
Yes.
And so, how much does the system actually help, or what do they do to actually help people? It sounds like if you're a self starter, if you're able to have your own initiative about things, that you can take advantage
Yeah.
of certain situations. But it seems like that's not what's happening with a lot of people that are
Well,
being
Denise,
in prison.
it's great that you said that, because that's what happened in my case. When I got there, I realized that the system was not geared to encourage me to achieve anything. A lot of the people that are in there, they relegated themselves to watching TV, playing cards, just hanging out on the deck, making phone calls. That's pretty much the course of their day. You really have to be driven to take it upon yourself to seek out these opportunities, whether it's school, or even taking correspondence courses while you're in there, because a lot of them are offering low rates for individuals who are incarcerated. But I mean, the impetus for them to encourage you to get into is not there. It's not. In fact, a lot of the officers, they are, it's punitive. You're put there as a punishment, not to continue to be punished. And so what the officers continue to rub it in while you're there. Hurry up and lock up. Don't say nothing to me. So everything is so indifferent and hands off and sanitized that you just feel like you're alone all the time.
And then what I was going to add to what Preston just said, we need to keep this in mind. We're at a stage in this country of mass incarceration. When we look at the various lanes that people are in with respect to the criminal system, I thought about it and I've looked at numbers and so forth. And what I've seen is something like 7 million people are in some lane of the criminal system in this country. About 2 million of those individuals are in the prison system, state prisons all over the country and federal prisons. Most Black individuals, especially Black males, are in the state prison system. How did we get to that? It started in 1986, 87. That's when former, now deceased President Ronald Reagan, signed the Anti-Drug Enforcement Act. I may not be saying it exactly the way it is, but that was the concept. Because at that point, crack cocaine was pushed into Black communities in Southern California. And through that process, you had individuals who were distributors who were pushing the drugs to points throughout the United States. And then Ronald Reagan got this Anti-Drug Act passed, which required 5 years in prison if you got caught with crack cocaine.
And that's with any amount.
Pardon?
That's with any amount.
Yes, 5 grams of crack cocaine.
Okay.
And in fact, I was told that some of the Congress people said, well, what does 5 grams look like? It didn't matter. The bottom line is somebody came up with the concept 5 grams of crack cocaine, keeping in mind that it was Caucasian individuals, and I'll refer to men, who used cocaine and powdered cocaine. You had to have twice that amount of cocaine to get a sentence. And so that's how this started. And then in 1994, former President Bill Clinton, at the behest of individuals who were begging for help because there was so much violence going on, so much killing, with all of these individuals out here selling crack cocaine and trying to claim their space, as they call it, their territory, as they call it. And of course, it's never about your territory, because if law enforcement people come along and say, you can't have this corner anymore, you're going to jail, that's the end of it. So that was just a hype dream about your territory. But nonetheless, that's what it was. That crime bill, in fact, I've said, Denise, was the most draconian crime legislation passed in the history of this country. Now, there was an attempt by some politicians, according to my research, who wanted social programs included in that legislation, but there was resistance to that. So the ultimate result was more Black people were pushed into the prisons, whether they were dealers or users. They were pushed, and we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about 20-year and 30-year sentences
Mm.
that they were getting.
Wow.
And social programs were almost non-existent. And then a lot of the programs that were in the prisons, where you could get a degree, an associate's, a bachelor's, a master's. There were lots of trade programs. And this is per information that I've received over a period of time. Most of all of that, all of those programs were eliminated. Their Pell Grants were taken away. Now, fast forwarding, here we are. The Pell Grants were just reintroduced into the prisons last year, 2023. So now a person can go to college, utilize a Pell Grant to get an education.
Yes.
A lot of the prisons, like Preston was saying, a lot of these prisons still, they're starting to slowly bring back trades programs,
Yes.
but there's still a long way to go with that.
Right. I just want to
Well,
say,
go ahead.
you have a question, Denise?
Yeah, the question I was going to ask, as you were mentioning about, getting the degrees, to what extent were getting these degrees impactful as far as actually leading to a job once you're out?
Well, just speaking from personal experience, while I was incarcerated, uh, I took computer science when they were offering that. Uh, I took food service, which is cooking, and I got an associate's also, and I also earned a paralegal degree while I was there. So I mean, a lot of the things that you can get are transferable once you are released. You really have to promote yourself even before you get out. You have to make connection with people on the outside. You know you're getting out. Don't wait until the last minute, and then all of a sudden you back on the block with the fellas. You know, that's detrimental. You want to position yourself where you've made a solid plan before you leave there, and you've made the solid connections and networks. That way, when you come out of there, you have something you can go forward with. You're motivated. You see your future. You know, and I just wanted to just encourage anyone who's watching this that has someone in their family who's incarcerated, encourage that person. You know, let them know that they're not forgotten. Let them know that you're still behind them. It may not be monetarily, but just a letter every now and then. Maybe accept a phone call that you really can't afford sometimes. Let these people know that they are valuable because they're our people and they will someday come back to the community, a lot of them. And when they come back, you want them to be situated and productive. You don't want them coming back bitter and better criminals and none of that. So we need, as a society, we need to band together to offer more resources. There's plenty of resources out there, but they're not as direct as they should be. I think that they should go to each individual that's incarcerated and ask them, what are your plans when you're getting out? You know, and find out how they can help that. You know,
So, do they have counselors there? If you have a degree in paralegal work
yeah.
and you want to do that kind of work when you
Mhm.
come out, what does that look like in terms of making the right connections
Well,
while you're in there so that this can happen?
one of the things I thought about when I earned the paralegal certificate was that I knew I would probably end up having to volunteer at first just to get my feet wet and be around the people who are actually in the law business and the legal field. Because, I mean, the experience that they're going to require of you, you don't really want to particularly say, well, I represented guys that were incarcerated. A lot of the companies don't really recognize that. They say, oh, well, you
Hmm.
were a jailhouse lawyer. But
Okay.
so what I'm doing now, I devote some of my time to a local uh, law office. It's actually a legal aid, Cabrini Green's legal aid, and we're helping people with expungements and sealing their records. So doing that, I think will give me the experience and the know-how to go even further and help other individuals. And I just wanted to, with Malin, go over the process about the executive clemency and how that works from start to finish.
Okay.
Okay.
With doing when someone contacts us, we'll tell them uh, about our executive clemency program, and what we do is there's an outline that was put together by the Illinois Prison Review Board. Uh, all states have some type of clemency uh, report that can be prepared unless that state has a parole board. Illinois had a parole board up until 1978. It was,
So can you explain to our office what you mean? I mean to our audience what you mean by clemency?
yes, I'm about to do that. What that means
Okay.
is, let's say a person has 35 years in prison. They don't want to spend 35 years in prison. That individual would like to exit the prison system and get back into the free society. So, one of the tools that's available to them typically is to get a clemency prepared. And the clemency report, it has sections in it where there are a number of questions that are asked of an individual. It's in the form of an outline. And we'll tell an individual that we will send the outline to them via either a message, the message system that exists. You can send it that way, or we send it via the U.S. mail system. But in that clemency format, there's several sections that must be completed. Um, the information, and it starts off asking you about the crime, just general information. What were you charged with? What county was the case in? Um, it they give you a list of questions to answer. Then we get to one of the most important sections of the clemency, which is the statement of facts about the case. In other
Hmm.
words, what happened? Where was the crime committed? How did it happen? Who was involved? What were you charged with? And so you ask all those questions. Think about it from this perspective: the what, the who,
Mhm.
when,
Yeah.
where, and how. Those are
Hmm.
the questions that you must answer. They give the prison review board the facts of the case. Then we go to the next section, which asks, do you have a prior criminal history? Because the prison review board wants to know, are you a first time offender or are you a repeat offender? So we have to provide that information, which comes from one of the law enforcement agencies. It could come from either the Illinois State Police Department, if we're in Illinois, same
That rap sheet. Yeah.
which and the street language for that is a rap sheet.
Okay.
It gives the date of the arrest, what the charges were, and what was the disposition of that case. And if you landed in the custody of a prison system, it will say that in that rap sheet. Then and then we have a section about your personal biography, your background. Where were you born? Who were your parents? Um, and your growing up experience. Where did you go to elementary school? If you went to high school, where did you go? Did you get any awards? Did you work? All that information compiled is gives the prison review board a perspective of who you are. In other words, has your entire life been a train wreck, or maybe on a portion of your life? Uh, a lot of guys, they'll talk about how they started off in elementary school. And then they said, I ended up on the street. I was hanging out with Tom Jones and John Williams and that kind of conversation. Well, we know that if you're hanging out with those people, chances are you're going to end up, in fact, committing a crime.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so now, and thinking about that, obviously, when you write that biography, I would say too, since you got to think about that, that food for thought is to inform you. You don't want to be hanging out with those street people when you come out of prison. So, like Preston was saying, it is important for you to plan what you're going to do before you come out, so that when you come out, you hit the ground running on the right path.
Yeah,
So those people who don't have a plan,
Mhm.
they're not going to fare so well with this review board.
Right. Like they
Would you
say,
say?
the old
Yes.
adage is if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I also wanted to touch on was the types of clemency. You have what's
Yes.
called commutation, which is you want your sentence to be reduced, and you have a pardon, which the governor grants, wiping that slate clean. So mostly what we deal with on a large scale is the commutations. Since most of these people have done time numerous years, we have people that have done 20, 30 years already. And they're trying to put themselves on the mercy of the Prison Review Board and the governor. Because once it leaves the Prison Review Board, it goes to the governor, where it sits on his desk for however long, and he decides. And all of this is done in confidentiality. They don't let the inmate know, they don't let us know. All you know about is when they make the final decision, whether it's granted or not. So what we try to encourage them to also do is to get all kinds of reference letters, personal character letters from pastors and other family members, people who know them. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Guys and women have even gotten letters from faculty and you know the workers at the prisons that they've worked with them and they've done well. So anything that's going to shine a positive light on you while you've done this time and make them less afraid that you're going to come out and be a monster again. You know, because we've recently had several instances where people have been released. In fact, one of the women who were on the prison board, as well as the chairman, they resigned because a guy got out and killed a lady on the north side of Chicago. Well,
Oh my.
killed her son. I'm sorry, killed her son, trying to kill her. And the prison review board had let him out without thoroughly vetting him. So there's a lot of scrutiny, even more now,
Mm-hmm.
put into it when they look at who can we let out. No one wants that bad rap. We let a monster out and look at
Well,
it.
as
Yeah. So if we let them out, what's to say that they're not going to go back to their old
yeah,
behavior?
as I'm listening. Okay. Yes, as I'm listening to you talk, I know Madeline indicated that fact sheet is very important in terms of what actually happened as
Mhm.
far as the crime is concerned. But I'm seeing a lot of heavy weight put on, what kind of supports you have out here,
Yes.
who you were interacting with out here, because when you come out,
Mhm.
this is where you're going, unless you can convince them that you're going in a totally different direction. But this is you have a go-to set of
Mhm.
people that were around you when you got into this in the first place.
Yes.
So
Yes.
those references and those keeping in contact and getting letters from people in the family,
Mhm.
uh I think is very, very important.
Yes. And it starts with a choice and it starts with a decision. You have to decide what your choices are going to amount to. If I do this, that's going to happen. If I do this, that's going to happen. So you have to think before you act. Don't be so impulsive.
Mhm.
Think it through. Do I really want to commit this crime? Do I really want to hang with these individuals who don't want to work? They don't want to go to school. They just want to hang out and smoke weed, and get drunk all day. That's a dead end street. I've been there and done that. I was addicted to drugs and alcohol, and so I know. And I wasted many years of my life doing that stuff. And so now I can just, I thank God it's only by His grace that I'm still here to even tell people what's on the other side. You can have a good life on the other side of prison, you know. So,
Okay.
And I'm going to say this on behalf of Preston. And there are a lot of guys I've found out, even not, I've never been in prison, but I've talked to a lot of guys who are in there. And like he's saying, there are a lot of really smart men in prison,
and women.
talented and women.
Yeah.
And I must say, and I will say on this behalf, um, Preston is a very smart individual. And sometimes people who are very smart have a lot to offer. Their potential is phenomenal, but it may be a problem with self-esteem, or it may be um, grieving about something that happened that you haven't been able to resolve. And so you end up going down the wrong path because you get talked into it. Well, here, come over here and get some of these drugs, get some ecstasy or something else. You need some relief. Well, if you, and sometimes in your moment of weakness, you might do that. And then you end up regretting it because I've never been addicted to drugs, but my information is that if you become addicted because you don't have a shut off switch, I'll use that. If you become addicted, you can waste, like Preston was saying, you can end up wasting a lot of years. And God forbid, if you end up in the prison system, and a lot of these prisons, I will say, they're not about rehabilitation. Since the prisons have more black men now than whites, and there's a small number of Latino individuals. I don't know. You might, if you see one Chinese person in the prisons, that's probably all you'll see, because that community takes care of their own. The same thing with Middle
Okay.
Eastern people. You will almost never see a Middle Eastern person in the prison system. We all need that undergirding. We all need that support system out here. So that when somebody sees you going down the wrong path, they'll say, hey, wait a minute, come over here, let me talk to you. And maybe it's somebody who just cares about you. And that would lead me to even come in to talk a little bit about the school system. So many men that I've talked to in the prisons dropped out of school, and it started in the primary grades. That's why law enforcement agencies, they can go to schools and look at their statistics, see what the overall student performance look like, and they know that in not too many years going by, they're going to have people coming out of those schools who dropped out, did not finish high school, and they'll commit a crime and end up in prison.
Mm.
You can take that to the bank. I've talked to so many guys who end up in prison, who dropped out of school. It starts in elementary school. By the time they get to the ninth grade, they're done. They're out. And they're in the streets.
Yes.
And next thing is crime. That's what we're dealing with now. With all this crime going on in the street now, all of these carjackings and smash and grabs, all that. If those young people had the education or a mind to get an education, or and when I say education, it could be a trade or it could be a four-year college or university, but do something productive with their life because they want to be about somebody and they want to leave a legacy, not one of crime, but one that's meaningful. If that was the case, they would be on that path instead of on the path out here committing all these crimes.
And I just want to add to
And
that.
they need to know that there is an economic engine out here that
Yes.
is thriving off of this behavior.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so in the prisons, they don't necessarily have a real incentive to rehabilitate you,
Right.
because they need people in the prisons in order to keep their jobs, to keep that whole industry going. And then there, as you said earlier, this is free labor,
Yes.
because they do have you doing a lot of things in prison where you're
Yeah.
building and making, and
Yeah.
somebody's profiting off of all of
Yes.
that.
Yes. And one of the things that was so ironic and sarcastic when I left there, one of the officers on my way out made a snide remark, "We'll see you later." you know,
See.
so it's almost like they count on us to come out
Yeah,
and come right back. So they say it's a
yeah.
revolving door. It's a revolving door. And just to touch on this subject for a minute, we were talking earlier about the wrongful convictions, and I was looking at Mayor Johnson's budget, and one thing that they didn't mention was how many millions of dollars Chicago was paid out paying people who were wrongfully convicted. If you
Mm-hmm.
add all these payouts up, there are hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that the
Yep.
city had to pay to these people who were wrongfully convicted. So the thing is that the system has to be fixed at the judicial level. You've got
Mm-hmm.
judges that are working with prosecutors, you've got prosecutors that are working with police, and it's all designed to set you up. And if you're out there doing something, you're putting yourself in the line of fire. They can just snatch you right off the street. Okay, where are you going to school? Nowhere. Where are you working? Nowhere. You're a candidate. So
Mm-hmm.
we make ourselves vulnerable by not doing anything productive, really. And you half the time that they pull you over, you don't have a license. That gives you that,
Okay.
all of these things. Yeah.
And especially when you're a black man.
Yes. Driving while black.
Driving while black. We could be driving while black, walking while black, eating while black, just being black. And it's a sad state of affairs. And
Are you seeing more women?
Oh yes.
yes, there have been a lot more women now.
Are you seeing more women, more black women? Has there been an increase?
Oh sure, sure. I've talked to some of the officers
Okay.
that used to work at Logan, which is a female prison that's in Lincoln County, and the officers that worked at that female prison, they've told me the women are worse than the men when it comes to fighting, and I mean, everybody's bottled up anger in there. No one wants to be there. So the least little thing you do to someone that agitates them, that's like setting off a ticking time bomb. So a lot of women are away from their children. A lot of them children have been taken away from them. Uh, they had drug addiction problems, that they're really coming off of. And it's really a shame because it all amounts to the breakup of the black family. When you've got a mother in jail and then also a father in jail in prison, what's that kid left to do but to be out in the streets or with a relative who's not giving them the proper oversight? So
Absolutely.
they're allowed to run rampant and run free. And then they get in with the wrong crowd and bam, the process is all over again.
So if someone were connecting with the Harriet Tubman Initiative, what kind of support are you providing?
Well, when we work with people, and I'm
Okay, we're having.
Are you there?
Are you there?
You there?
They're reconnecting.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Okay.
We're having some technical difficulties here, but Madeline and Preston are giving some very insightful information in terms of what's going on in our prison system.
Okay. Yeah.
I was about to say too. Like
Okay, it looks like we're losing their video now. So hopefully, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, our screen is freezing. Our screen is frozen. Okay, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes.
you and
Okay,
see
I can hear you, so you can still
you.
continue to talk.
Hmm. Yes.
Um, should we continue
Okay.
talking?
Okay, so you can continue to talk.
Go ahead.
Okay. What I was going to say was,
Yes, you can continue to talk.
yeah.
We're talking to Madeline Sanders, and we're talking to Preston Gresham, and they're talking to us about the Harriet Tubman Initiative and how they're helping individuals who have been incarcerated. We've got some camera issues here, but they're still talking to us. So go on. All
Yeah.
right, you're back. Go
What
ahead.
what I was going to say is, in terms of how we support individuals, one of the main things about our clemency reports, when someone comes to us um, about getting a clemency, we tell them that we must get your plan of action. And so we impose that upon them because we know the importance of it. Don't tell us that simply, well, I want to be home with my children and my take care of my mom or other members of my family. Everybody wants to do that. What we want from you is, what is it that you're going to do with your life when you exit the prison system?
Hmm.
That's what the prison review board would be looking for. That's what the governor would want to see,
Yes.
because we don't want you coming out of the prison
Hmm.
not ready to hit the ground running and thus end up back in the prison system
Hmm.
because you didn't have a plan of action in place. So we require that you tell us, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to go to school? Do you want to start a business?
Yes.
Do you want to work?
Hmm.
Whatever it is, what we want to do. And we, in fact, have done for a few people, we've even sent them a package of resources
Yes.
so that they have some material to work with.
Yes.
Because we want you to be successful when you come out of prison.
Yes.
And we know it does take effort, and so we go the extra mile by
Yeah.
providing you with information that you can utilize to help you get a rung up the ladder.
Yes. And one thing I do, knowing from my experience, one thing I'll send to the guys that requested the resources, I'll put together a list of places that give bus cards. Uh, I keep my eyes open for job fairs across the city, where they give clothing, food. I put together a resource packet with Madeline along with her, and we'll send it to these guys in advance of them getting out. And we've
Mhm.
done that on several occasions, and it's helped them to get more of an idea of where to start. Because that's the worst thing is, you know where you got to go, but you don't know how to start. And so that gives them an extra incentive to want to get out and to have places to go that are positive. Because if you get out, you're going to just relegate back to the old neighborhood. And those people aren't they weren't contacting you while you were there. No one was sending you money except your family or accepting your phone call. Why would you go back and look for these same people that was part of you really getting there based on their behavior? And I
Mhm.
mean, I'm myself, if someone comes up to me now and says, well, let's do a crime together, I'm gonna look at them like they're crazy and get the heck away from them as fast as I can. Because
Okay.
I know that that's no life in there. Most of the counties in Illinois, out of the 102 counties, most of them that are rural have a prison there, and that's
Exactly.
their
Yes.
that's their
That's
legacy,
that's their resource.
their industry there. Yeah,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
guards tell me that they'll put their kids through school working there. Some of their kids, when they got grown enough, they start working there. You have three
Mhm.
generations of officers that have worked there, and I mean. They don't care. They want you to keep coming back. Really. They really want they talk about
Mm.
Chicago like it's nothing. It's Crook County and nothing good comes out of
Yes.
Chicago. So they
Yes.
discount us as soon as we get there. They treat you subhuman. Like I said before, you were put there as a punishment. You weren't put there to continue to be punished by people. So
Okay.
the punishment is an ongoing thing while you're there. They demean you in every kind of way possible. They'll ignore you. If you do anything minor infractions, you get thrown in segregation. You may be there for 2, 3 weeks.
or
It's horrible.
longer.
It's horrible. It's really horrible. If you file a grievance, oftentimes you don't hear anything back from the grievance because if you grieve it against an officer, the officer that's reading the grievance is going to tell the other officer you wrote it, and then they're going to really harass you. So I mean, this is
Hmm.
so jacked up against people. It's really a shame. We have a lot of work to do going into the future. But what Harriet Tubman Initiative tries to do is offer a hope. Offer them something to hold on to once they're on the other side. And we pray behind our petitions that we submit. We're hoping that the prison review board will see favorably the ones who are really working on something, and that when they pass it on to Governor Pritzker, he can also see that thing and allow these guys to come home. And the women also. Yeah.
So you mentioned that there were four different types of clemencies, and you mentioned the commutation where you're looking for a full pardon. So, but
Hmm.
what are the other three, and do you work with individuals who
Well,
might be getting
well
one of the other three?
here in Illinois, there are actually two main ones. There's the commutation and the pardon. You know,
Okay.
uh, you can get a clemency also. That's the Joe Coleman Act, which is when you're terminally ill. They have a Joe Coleman Act that, but as of yet, they really are not letting most people. You have to basically almost die in there, to get on there. And
And
I mean,
people have
and
died.
people have died waiting. And when the COVID pandemic struck in the prisons, uh, a lot of the officers did not want to take the vaccine. So they were the ones who were bringing it in there to us. We weren't going
Mm.
anywhere getting the COVID. The officers were bringing the COVID in because they refused to take the vaccine. So that brought about the Joe Coleman Medical Act, and they made a lot of people suffer. Guys died in there of COVID that shouldn't have died. Really.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, this is a very important work
Hmm.
because there are so many people in prison who don't have family support.
Yes.
They don't have money, to hire an attorney, and they end up in the worst situations because of that.
Yes.
And so you're extending a hand and, like you said, hope, and letting them know what they need to do. And then once they are out, then are you there to provide continued support?
Oh, sure, sure. I'm like I said, I'm always on the hunt for opportunities for them. I pass them along. There's several guys who just gotten released. I text them. I text them job fairs and all type of job leads. Olive Harvey, the city colleges are offering a lot of programs. One of the programs is through Rivian, who manufactures electric vehicles. Olive Harvey has a program where you can learn how to repair the electric vehicles, and they'll pay you $26 an hour to learn. And once you learn that trade, Rivian will turn around and hire you from the program.
Okay.
So that's a very good program for men and women to look into. In fact, a lot of the women are outpacing the men in these fields. Really, because a lot of guys are like, well, I don't have driver's license, I don't have credentials, I'm not even gonna try. That's the worst thing is to give up. Never give up on yourself. You are the first most important person.
Now, even though you may be pardoned, you still have a record, and these companies would know that you have been in prison.
Well, if you've gotten pardoned, what you want to go for then is an expungement or a sealing. You can get that sealed where it's only visible to law enforcement and things of that nature, and it's not permitted to be put out in the general public. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So how can people contact you? Uh, those individuals that might need support, maybe their family members can contact you, and then there are those who are in prison.
Yeah.
How can they contact you?
We're in the process of doing our website, which will be up next month. But Madeline has the basic phone number and email. She'll give that to you all.
Okay. Um, the phone number that an individual can call wants to talk to us about their needs is area code 847-802-8302. I'll repeat that, 847-802-8302. Um, our office hours are Monday through Friday, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Uh, our email address is the Harriet Tubman Initiative at gmail.com. That's a fairly long name, so I would urge individuals to call our number and we'll give them the email address and make sure they get it spelled correctly
Yes.
so we can use the email as a way of communicating.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add some of the other services that we offer. Madeline is a certified notary. She notarizes documents. And by me being a paralegal, I formed a company called Dynamic Paralegal, where I can do motions and forms for people while they're incarcerated. And I can even file them out here for them, which speeds the process up for a lot of individuals. Because in there, it's hard to get to the law library. It's so few and far between before you can go. You might miss a deadline. So sometimes if the guys can get me the information, I can get it over to the court for them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this is a very wonderful work that you're doing. It's a very, very much needed work that you're doing, because this whole issue of incarceration has had a huge impact on our community, with the absence of fathers and other, men that play other roles in our communities, and then even with our children losing their mothers.
Yes.
Having worked in the educational system, I see the damage done. Even though they may have a foster home to live in, these children have been traumatized
Yes.
by these losses.
Yeah.
And so it's important that we get our people back into the workforce.
Yes.
Starting businesses,
Yeah.
that's very important. And that's what Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities is about, is having businesses. Because if we have businesses in our community, and those people live in our community, and they have a vested interest in our community, they're going to help circulate the dollar.
Yes.
And as you know, right now we have too many people with businesses in our community, and they're strictly for profit.
Exactly.
And they're giving nothing back. We just can't keep taking and taking and taking,
Right.
and not giving back.
And I just wanted to add really quickly, I was over on West on Cermak today, and it was partially a Hispanic neighborhood. And I just noticed how most of the kids were ready, just running into school, and the businesses were vibrant,
Mm-hmm.
open, and everybody was doing something, and we need to
That's
restore
right.
that to our community. We need to
That's
really
right.
invest in each other and form a collaboration that brings everybody up together. We all eat together. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I know when they put Black people out there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I don't think they expected Black people to thrive out there in that environment. But look what they created,
yes,
you know, by supporting one another. And a
right,
community is where you live and where you work and where you play.
yes,
And so we have some missing pieces here. So very proud of what you're doing, and are very supportive of what you're doing. And I want you to continue. And we're happy for you, Preston, because
thank
we know that you have been through this system. And
yes,
knowing Madeline, I know she's been fighting really hard for you.
yes,
And I'm just happy for the both of you, and what you've been able to come together
thank
and create.
yes. She has been a
Absolutely.
constant source of support over those years. She really has, and that's made all the difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Okay. So
can I add one final point? Um, we will,
sure, sure you
we
can.
will be having a reception next year, 2025, in connection with our getting married. For me, it will be my first time in my life. And for him, we always say the third time is the charm.
That's the charm.
So anyway,
Okay.
and we definitely will have you on the list of invitees.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Denise. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
And
family, yes.
I was
Go ahead,
just,
Madeline.
if you wanted us to come back at another time and do a part two, because another major part in this is what happens to the family, the inmates' family, how they get caught up in this financially, and the financial drain on the family when
That's
someone
right.
goes to prison, and that's a big chunk of what
Mm,
we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And it has definitely had a huge destabilizing impact on the Black family with
Yes.
so many
that's right.
thousands of Black men in prison.
Yeah.
That's right. You are absolutely right. And you are absolutely welcome to come back. As a matter of fact, we will make that happen.
Okay.
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 All
All
right.
right.
All right. So thank you for coming tonight. This has been very informative. And friends and family, if you know someone that needs some help, you can please contact Madeline and Preston at the Harriet Tubman Initiative. And their phone number is 847-802-8302. And their email is the Harriet Tubman Initiative at gmail.com.
Yes.
Right.
All right.
All
Yes.
right.
Okay. So thank you again for coming tonight and
Yes.
keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We shall.
All right.
All
Okay.
right.
Good night.